All right.
Okay, we're good to go.
Okay. All right. So my name's Lennox Rodgers. I am one of the co-founders of Refocus Project, which is a crime prevention and early intervention service that works with young people and adults. We've been running that charity for 15 years. And I have written a book called Breaking Better, which because of my lived experience. And I am in the UK. I'm in a place called Greenhithe, which is right next to, it's on the outskirts of London, really, southeast London. But I'm originally from Oxford. But yeah, so a lot of my work is over London and the Garden of England, Kent. That's me, sort of thing.
My grandmother was actually, I believe it was pronounced Tudbury or Tedbury, something. My grandmother was from England. She actually had met my grandfather during World War II.
Yeah.
One of those, he was a GI who came over. So I don't even know where to begin. Yeah, I mean, you had basically been involved in crime for a very long time, and well, when you were younger, I should say, and then you made the shift to helping the youth to not make the same decisions, I guess.
Yeah, the last time I came out of prison, because I've been to 16 different prisons, I have wasted 21 years going in and out of prison. Prior to that, I was in the care system. So I was in a lot of children's homes and places for naughty boys. So the last time I came out of prison was about 2004. And I'd been doing this type of work from 2005, but my charity started in 2006. So we've been going for about 15, 16 years. But I've been in two gangs. I was in one, a drug dealing gang, and I was an enforcer. So my gang members used to give a lot of drugs out on credit. They used to give a lot of drugs out on credit, and they used to use me to get the money if they didn't pay on time. The second gang I was in was organised crime. So I had an organised crime gang in London, and that gang involved East End gangsters, you know, people who were doing gangs with the craze. It involved bankers and other business people, lawyers. It involved police and politicians. My mentor was a jeweler. He owned a jeweler's shop, and he had a very expensive apartment at the back of Oxford Street in central London. And he was chauffeur driven. And so I used to meet with these guys on a weekly basis and do all sorts of crime for them. So that was quite big. So I was part of these two gangs. I did a lot of drug dealing and crime myself, and violence using guns and knives. So it was that.
What do you think governments should do as far as drug rehabilitation?
As far as drug rehabilitation, well, they need to invest in a lot more money to be able to help tackle some of the issues. Drug dealers, they spend money to make money, and the government is not very good at doing early intervention. And I think it needs a lot of interventions at earlier stages. But now with the problems that they're having, they need to spend money in education, spend money using people with lived experiences who can help people along that journey to sort of get off that track. So, but they're not willing to invest that kind of money. It's gonna cost to create the kind of places where you can progressively help drug addicts with their problems and issues. And there's a high demand for drugs, and whilst there's a high demand for drugs, you're gonna always have serious the ripple effect of people using drugs is massive, and it's a lot of problems to deal with, even with the the consequences, going to court and hospital and things like that. So it's a big problem that has been going on, and that there were things that could have been done perhaps along the way that wasn't. But at this stage now, they have to spend money and invest in all those types of interventions, really.
So as somebody living in the United Kingdom, what's your perspective on what's been going on here in the United States with the riots and the police shootings, and are there similar issues there in England as far as police violence?
Yeah, there is some similar issues. There are some police who are what we call trigger happy, in that they and there is racism in the police force, and some people today are having some horrible experiences with it. Fortunately, there isn't the amount of shootings from police over here that we are seeing in America. We do get that, or we get deaths from the police in other suspicious circumstances. But it's a difficult one. We have to find a way to draw a line, and to for the police have to find a way to train their police to police properly and fairly. Black people have to find a way to let go of what's happened in the past. Otherwise, we're constantly going to take it into our future. So if we don't find a way, society, the police and the racism, if we don't find a way to live in peace, then we're always going to have these issues. And what we're doing, we're passing it on to the younger generation, and they're carrying it on. And we need to think about the younger generation and the society that they would like to live in, and make it as nice as possible. But that's going to come at a price. We have to. I know there's been a lot of injustices, and we have to find a way to be able to accept what's happened to some extent. I mean, it's very hard for people that have lost loved ones through police brutality and that. But we have to find a way to say, we're not going to have any more of this, and to be able to move forward. Otherwise, it's just going to be a revolving door. So I suffered a lot of racism as a child. When I went to school, someone would stand in the playground and shout blacks against whites, and there was only like 7 or 8 of us that were from mixed backgrounds, and Teachers would be in their classrooms, lining up, placing bets and watching, the rest of the school fight us. The only people that came on our side was the Irish and the Scots. And I think that was probably because they wanted a good reason to fight the English. But anyway, the thing was, I suffered in the late 60s and 70s, very bad racism. And I just didn't understand. But thankfully, I had some very nice Irish and Scottish and English people who tried to help me not to grow up with a chip on my shoulder, and show me that it was just a small minority of people in the UK who were like that. It didn't feel like it, but they tried to help me to not blame everyone for the racism. And I suppose in America, not everyone's racist, but you do have people that are, and unfortunately, there may always be, but we have to. So I had to let go my racism. I had to let go. I accept and acknowledge the racism that people are suffering today. And I think that, it's not very nice when you're going through that experience, but collectively, unless we find a way to let it go, I've had to forgive. I've had racism from the police. I've had racism from society. Racism, just for the most part of my childhood. I was groomed. By the time I was 11, I'd been to court 5 times. I was kicked out of nearly every school. I'd been groomed to be a pimp at the age of 14. I had a lot of issues. I was sexually abused and raped as a child. So I grew up with all these kinds of issues. And, in order to have a life, I've had to let all that go. And it's been a long process, but I've finally been able to let it all go and, encourage my children to do the same, so that they can not carry this stuff on. If I pass it on to them, for them to be racist, then, they're going to pass it on to their children, and we're going to keep having this problem. There has to be a time, as hard as it has been, that we let go. I can't keep blaming the police or non-blacks for 400 years of slavery. That was a different time. I can't blame people for the sufferings I suffered as a child. Times were different, people were different, and over the years, some of them changed their views. I have to take people as I find them and try to sort of, people ask me, what's the best thing you can leave your kids? And I say to them, the best thing you can leave your children is a good example on how to be a decent human being. And, in order to do that, I have to not pass on all my crap. It's a very hard thing to do. And for some people who have suffered at the hands of the police and various other people, it's very hard to try and ask them to let it go. But what's the alternative? You carry that hurt, that pain with you, and you'll forever be angry. It'll eat you up. It'll destroy you from the inside. And so, as hard as it is, we have to find a way. The police and society, we have to find a way to bridge that gap, to get along. Unfortunately, we are different colours. But when you look at children in nursery age, you see them with other children of different colours. and there's no racism. Because at that young age, they don't see racism. And so, you know, racism is taught, and we need to stop teaching our children to be racist. And we need to stop being racist in, you know, different places of work in society, like the police and things. We, you know, because they're not going to be able to police fairly and properly, you know, if they're going to have those views. You know, it's good to have policemen and women that are from different backgrounds and cultures because they represent society. But you can't take, you can't be racist. You can't do that. But I think that's the way forward. But it's a big ask, and perhaps in an ideal world, you know. But for me, that's the way. And I think if lots of people have those views, then, you know, one person at a time, perhaps we can change the world. I don't know.
Pretty good. That's a pretty good note to end on. Where can people find out about your work, find out about your book, and so forth?
It's www.refocussproject.org.uk, or it's breakingbetter.org.uk for the book, www.breakingbetter. Yeah, so yeah, it's good. They're using it in prisons to help people, you know, tackle some issues and make a change. But it's good, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today.
And thank you for having me